Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm your host, Samyam Samba, and it's my honor to welcome all of you to this virtual guest lecture session. And for today's session on business post-COVID, we have Mr. Amun Thapa, who is also the founder and the CEO of the Nepal's e-commerce giant, Sasto. He's an entrepreneur juggler who is also the co-owner of the three other ventures, Sasto Book, Anthropos, 30 production, and is associated with Khali Sisi for more than 4 years. He has done his bachelor's in business administration from the University of Central Oklahoma and bachelor's in consumer psychology and marketing from Cameron University. Largely inspired by the success story of the vast internet-based enterprise Amazon, he has vision for a bigger picture rather than immediate results, making him an inspiration for many of the small startups to come. Also, Mr. Amun Thapa is a resilient entrepreneur who overcame the financial difficulties and believed in the prospect of a blooming e-commerce in Nepal through local entrepreneurship. We'll have a Q&A session at the end, and we are also going live through the TBC official Facebook page. So if you have any questions, feel free to write them down in the Zoom chat or the Facebook comment box, and we'll make sure to address them. As of now, let us welcome our guest speaker for today, Mr. Amun Thapa. The platform is all yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, British scholars, for inviting me here. It's such an honor to be among you guys. I'm very excited for today. Thanks. Oh, sorry. So, okay, I didn't know. I thought this was a moderated Q&A. Okay. So I'll just give a brief background then on myself and Sustudio. So we started in 2011. So when I came back from States, I immediately realized there's a big opportunity for e-commerce in Nepal. I mean, I didn't know at the time, Jama, 9% of the entire population had access to internet, but regardless, I was very keen on starting e-commerce way back then, right? So, sorry. So when we started, I mean, everything we did initially was all about building the culture, building the, I mean, awareness among consumers, also the vendors, also the stakeholders in terms of government and payment partners, banks. So it is more like, I mean, at 23 years old, you're going around meeting 40 years old plus CEOs, and you're trying to convince them to be a part of this e-commerce ecosystem, which most of them have never heard of. So you can imagine when, I mean, 91% of the population did not even had access to internet, Bandhali. So e-commerce was very new, right? So it was fun. It was very tough. No one believed me because of my age money, but morely because of e-commerce as an industry back then. So we started very small. We rented a small garage, 2000 रुपियाँ रेन्ट तिरेर हामीले सानो छारीमा चाहिँ नि एउटा अफिस लिएको थियो. So 2000 per month. So you can imagine 2000 मा कस्तो खालको चाहिँ स्पेस आउँछ. So me, my co-founders, so दुईजना चाहिँ थियो, they started doing the coding and they built the website where I was doing the running around in the market, meeting the vendors. So कस्तो हुन्थ्यो my initial days मा, so I started my day way morning ma. So 6:30, 7 ma, I used to be at the office. ढोका खोल्ने बित्तिकै my vivid memories are यो छेपारोहरू कुदेको भित्ताबाट हुर्र कुद्थ्यो अनि because अब त्यस्तै खालको अफिस थियो, right? So त्यहाँबाट झ्याल खोलेर and then I started my day. As soon as my co-founders reached the office at around 8, 8:30, then I started going out to the market. So मेरो mission then was डेमा at least एकजना भेन्डरलाई चाहिँ to convince them to onboard the products or services in Sastudio. So I used to go there in the market अनि अब you can imagine unlike today त्यतिखेर एकजना भेन्डरकोमा गयो भने okay उनीहरूको प्रोडक्टको लागि the intent was there, but they used to start with भाइ यो e-commerce भनेको के हो बुझाइदियो मलाई अनलाइनबाट पनि सामान बेच्न मिल्छ र so every vendor, I ended up spending 1 hour, 1.5 hour, almost an entire day, sometimes, just talking to them, I mean, educating them on e-commerce and internet and and most of them rejected at the end of the day. "Ah, bhai, yo ma bujhdaina kehi pani bhanera." That was the typical answer from everyone. But few of them, and I'm very thankful for those few who, I mean, that back then they knew, I mean, whatever I was bluffing out, this young guy, I mean, 23-year-old, speaking about e-commerce. So it's like he's in a fantasy world. Just that they believed in my spirit, they believed in my, my story. So they gave their business to me, right? So त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ नि, we started such deals every day, one deal at a time. हुन्थ्यो. So we used to be a daily deals website. So and mostly focus on the services side. So त्रिसरा जस्तो रेस्टुरेन्टहरू, राफ्टिङ डिल्सहरू, होटल एन्ड बुकिङहरू, त्यस्तोमा चाहिँ नि दिनमा एकचोटि चाहिँ नि we used to offer 50% flat discount or more, So those were unheard of Nepalma. So Nepalma त्यतिखेरसम्म मुन्चा ठमेल भन्ने चाहिँ नि there were, I'd say websites, but those were mostly catering to diaspora community. So नेपालबाट बाहिर बस्नेहरूलाई एउटा गिफ्टिङ प्लेटफर्म जसरी थियो भन्ने नेपालमा that I've heard of. खासै छैन. So, but I don't say Sustainable is technically the first e-commerce company, but I know back then खासै थिएन. So Sustainable, when we started, we gathered a lot of word of mouth because this is something very new to the society. We're offering insane, I mean, deals. So the word got traveled, like very, very fast. No? So one deal a day about it, and immediately we realized people just, I mean, they didn't want just, I mean, services. They wanted products. They wanted everything from mobile phones to books to, like to whatnot, right? So people in Nepal, they then realized that e-commerce potential is really big. You don't really need to step out of the house to get your products. And people used to be amused by the fact that delivery पनि घरमा हुन्छ भनेर हैन. So I'll give you, I'm sure this, a very funny story. A lot of times when I used to deliver. So I think for the first 2 years, I was the guy, who went to the vendor, convinced them to onboard their products, came back to the office, then wrote the content, uploaded the products, or even before that, made कतिको photographyहरू चाहिन्थ्यो. So then I used to take a small DSLR camera, go to the an inquiry orders आयो भने call center मा कोही पनि थिएन. So I used to, I mean, take the phone calls. Then order आएपछि I used to then deliver it, right? Or के गर्नु पर्थ्यो. So then 2013 सम्म चाहिँ नि, it was very evident कि Sustainable had to, man, step out of this daily deals and then become a full-fledged e-commerce company. And I was about to share your amazing story. So deliver गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि, the culture was so new कि every time when I delivered personally, त्यहाँको मान्छेहरू, अब the customers I'd say, would be so happy. अनि उनीहरूले चाहिँ नि, भाइ कोक फान्टा खाएर जाऊ या कफी चिया खाएर जाऊ नभन्ने सायद कोही पनि थिएन होला हैन. It was very, very, new. आजको दिनमा I think it's quite the opposite, but कोक फान्टा नखाइकन चाहिँ कसले पनि पठाउँदैन थियो. एभ्री टाइम हुन्छ नि डेलिभर गर्दा आएर भाइ जुत्ता फुलाएर आउनुहोस् बस्नुहोस् कोक खानुहोस् चिया खानुहोस् के खानुहुन्छ. So that is the culture, so you can imagine it's so new. So by 2013, then we knew कि अब यो चाहिँ full-fledged e-commerce मा लानुपर्छ. The industry also grew very, very fast from 9%. आजको दिनमा it's close to 50% internet penetration हो. Some reports, anti-security report is 65% भन्छ, but I don't think it's 65%. It's close to 50%, sir. But still, that means half of the Nepal's population now have access to internet. Smartphone penetration पनि almost 50%, sir. So अहिलेको the numbers are way, way, way better compared to, I mean, back then जब 9% मात्र थियो, right? So 2013 सम्म चाहिँ नि, it was gaining a lot of traction. The entire industry, a lot of new players entered the market. Sasto Deal came out from this daily deals business model to a more full-fledged marketplace. So we started doing, I mean, books, mobile phones, whatever the people wanted. So Kathmandu एकदमै focus थियो. Then eventually हामीले पछि Kathmandu बाहिर पनि we saw a big market. So e-commerce चाहिँ नि, this is something I tell my team every time. Whenever you're discussing or thinking about e-commerce, you cannot put Kathmandu at the center, right? Kathmanduलाई बनेकै हैन e-commerce. I mean, Kathmanduमा त अब most of us here, I assume, are from Kathmandu. यहाँ त हामी we have a choice. अब either we can go to Bhatpatini, Big Mart, New Road, or whatnot, right? and even the sellers, they have a choice. I mean, online or offline, doesn't matter to them. But Kathmandu बाहिर अब obviously most of you know the situation. त्यहाँ न मार्केट छ न अब कस्टमरलाई एउटा किताबै किन्नु पर्यो भने कहाँ किन्ने किताब होइन. जस्तै इभन हुन्छ नि लोकसेवा जस्तो किताब हुन्छ नि हाम्रो सोलुखुम्बु जस्तो एरियाबाट अर्डर आउँछ. एभ्री टाइम इट ह्यापन्स मेक्स मी रियलाइज कि त्यो लोकसेवा भनेको जुन गभर्मेन्टमा दिनुपर्ने म्यान्डेटरी एक्जामको किताब हो, त्यो त्यो जस्तो किताब पनि कहीँ पनि पाउँदैन काठमाडौँ बाहिर. अरू एकदम गाह्रो छ पाउने भनेको. यु क्यान इमेजिन अरू किताबहरू अब यो रोमान्स नोभल्सदेखि लिएर अब त्यो बिजनेस बुक्सदेखि लिएर अरू कुराहरू त पाउने चान्सै छैन, राइट? बट इभन ओके लाइक फर्गेट अबाउट बुक्स, इभन इफ दे हेभ some aspiration to buy Nike, Adidas, or those kind of luxury items, the pawn chances, right? So that's a very unfair situation for the consumers. At the same time, unfair situation for the vendors as well. I mean, yeah, there's a big digital divide that's happening. I mean, Kathmandu and people are using e-commerce platform or even social media to scale their business. But गाउँघरमा बस्ने मान्छेहरू who were at one time competing with those vendors in Kathmandu, अहिले चाहिँ नि अब they don't have access to e-commerce. I mean, they don't know the digital know-hows, so they're left behind, right? So it's very unfair. So then that's why as a local company, as a local entrepreneur, I always keep this as a mandate. मेरो जे पनि business planning छ, जे पनि अब whenever I talk to my team, कि काठमाडौँ बाहिरको market share के छ, like how are we going to penetrate those markets outside, होइन? So e-commerce is actually meant for outside Kathmandu. Someday I'd like to believe कि काठमाडौँको shares कम हुन्छ, outside valley ko धेरै हुन्छ, and we're heading that traction. So like I say, in 2014-15, some almost 100% of our business was from Kathmandu. As of then, almost 40% is coming from outside Kathmandu. I think next year or in 2 years or 3 years, I think 50-50 split. So that obviously I'm going to be very, very happy. So 2015 somewhat, and that's how we grew organically. Internally, हामीले बिस्तारै, I mean, learning by doing and बिस्तारै. So I realized about the phone calls around थाल्यो. त्यसपछि my first hire was someone in the call center. So उहाँलाई hire गरेपछि then second hire was, and at the time still म आफै delivery गरिरहन्थेँ. So दिनको 30-40 delivery म आफै पनि गर्दै business पनि गर्दै, like so it is fun, I mean, रमाइलो हुन्थ्यो. Then I realized कि अब delivery पनि गर्न भ्याएन भनेपछि then एकजना आर्यन भन्ने भाइ, so I remember them, आर्यन भन्ने भाइ मैले हायर गरेको थिएँ. Delivery पनि was such a new concept. अब I could not, I mean, make it professional. अब उसले उसको गर्लफ्रेन्डलाई बाइकमा राखेर डुलाउँदै, अनि so for him it was like गर्लफ्रेन्डलाई पनि काठमाडौँ घुमाइरहेछ अनि डेलिभरी पनि गरिरहेछ, पैसा पनि कमाइरहेछ. So I mean, he did it for, I mean, I think 2 to 3 years. So eventually call center पनि बढ्दै गयो, यता हाम्रो लजिस्टिक साइड पनि बढ्दै गयो, products and vendors पनि बढ्दै गयो, customers पनि बढ्दै गयो. So then we moved out of that office, I think 2014 तिर. Organic growth हुन्छ नि. अब like I said, we started very small. Capital मसँग भएको was 50,000 rupees, तर टेक्निकली 50,000 थियो, तर आई मिन सुरुमै यो ब्रसर प्रिन्ट गरेर भन, लयरलाई दियो भन, के भन, त्यो सबै आई थिङ्क गइसकेको थियो. सो वी बेसिकली स्टार्टेड अफ विथ नथिङ. So but we grew organically, and very unprofessionally, I'd say, because we're very young. I didn't know what I was doing. 23 at the time. My co-founders came from a tech background. So some people are learning by doing it. So 2016 पछि चाहिँ नि, that's how when Sasto deal got external investors, and the entire company then started to, I mean, head to this direction of being a very professional company. So I'm very thankful for my investors. A professional lucky group company, they came in as, would say, an angel investment. So they came in, they put in some money, they joined the board, and that was the first time I had to, report to someone outside of the company. So then company, I mean, I had no liability, no obligation to anyone. So कस्तो गर्थ्यो भने, I mean, so we used to make a lot of money, I mean. So मेरो त्यो ड्ररहरू हुन्थ्यो. I mean, there was no accounting. I did not even have an accountant. So त्यो ड्ररमा हजारको बिट्टा हुन्थ्यो त्यहाँ, त्यतिकै राखेको हुन्थ्यो. So no ledger, nothing हुन्छ नि, like it was just डेलिभर गरेर आयो, पैसा कलेक्ट गर्यो, त्यही राखिदिन्थ्यो. Then हाम्रो अफिसको छेउमा एलिस रेस्टुरेन्ट थियो गैरीधारामा. So then most of our meetings used to be at Alice because I could not invite anyone to this office. Shock by the businessman out. So every time someone wanted to discuss something about business, Alice my schedule gati. So then Alice ma त्यो drawer खोल्यो त्यो बिट्टा लग्यो I don't know हुन्छ नि 5000 6000 कति हुन्छ at one time गयो यसमा join गरेँ So 16 when Lucky Group joined, that was the first time as an entrepreneur myself. I knew, I mean, your reporting or board structuring or all this accounting or financials or projections and everything started to become, like very structured and very professional. I mean, just with 2018 when Doma Impact Fund so joined, so Sasto became, I'd say, the first company in the e-commerce sector to get an FDI, right? So FDI पनि it was very new because नेपालमा until then कुनै पनि e-commerce company FDI छिराएको थिएन. So it was, I mean, for even for the investors or the VCs that we were talking to, they did not actually believe, I mean, e-commerce ma FDI allowed छ छैन. It was such in a gray area. So Doma, I'm very thankful, they trusted us and they invested, so they also became the first to invest in the e-commerce sector. And ever since Doma Apasita, then it was next level. We got to understand how a VC operates. So VC, they're very, very, very professional. So I mean, being an impact fund, then things that did not come across my mind prior to this, like about ESG, your environment, social, and all that. त्यस्तो कुराहरूदेखि लिएर very structured खालको meetingsहरूदेखि लिएर plannings. So we were accountable in just about anything that we did. So sometimes I felt, I mean, यति धेरै कुराहरू पनि गर्नुपर्छ र like what does it matter हुन्छ नि isn't profit the only thing भन्दाखेरि so Doma actually taught me you profit matra हैन there are like 1,000 different things that as a CEO and as a I mean accountable company you need to take care of, right? So when Doma came in it was next level. So Lucky Group was also there, ICTC Group was there, and today here we are. I mean 2021 but we have partners like Walmart and Flipkart, and we have investors, just a new investor that has joined us, IME Group, and I think the company is now competing with a global giant, and we're in an industry where it's the fastest growing industries in Nepal. भर्खर अहिले एउटा report published भएको छ Red Share भन्ने consulting firms. So they're the number one consulting firm for internet companies. So they've done a report on Nepal e-commerce, and they've quoted अहिले आजको दिनमा it's $100 million GMV. So it's not market size, it's like something so SAM serviceable addressable market. So 100 million it's going to grow 10x in the next 5 years. So it's going to cross $1 billion in terms of GMV by 2026 भन्ने उहाँहरुको जुन forecasting छ. अनि I think I have no doubt त्यो हुन्छ. In fact त्यो पनि cross हुन्छ. So e-commerce is going to be in Nepal one of the biggest industries. It's heading that direction. अहिलेको डेमा it's the fastest growing industry. So I'm very happy to be leading this company and in this industry as a local player competing with a global giant. So happy to share, I mean, my experiences. I'd be, looking forward to your Q&A. Thanks.
Okay, sir, we'll have a little Q&A session now. So first question is, how can an entrepreneur raise money in such harsh times, especially COVID-19?
Yeah, so I think it's a very important question that you've raised, because early about, if you look at it from the investor's perspective, most of them, what they're doing is they're focusing on their current portfolio, right? I mean, sabbejanako afafne business damadol cha. So at this point of time, I mean, it's very unlikely they would be looking at or exploring new opportunities. So that's a fundamental truth that we need to accept as an entrepreneur. So Istabella Chani, I mean, there are two things that we need to do. I mean, it's to be a very conservative in a way. I mean, your fundraising will come, the market will reopen, and when that happens, I think it's going to be crazy, right? Everyone, including the investors, right? Then when it comes out, I mean, people are going to travel like crazy. People are going to visit the restaurants like crazy. I think I'm going to, dine in a restaurant 7 days a week for at least a few months. I know like a lot of you guys you have the same feeling. I'm going to travel here and there. And it's the same thing with the investors, right? So they're going to, be very aggressive in terms of funding and everything. So, sorry. So one thing you can do as an entrepreneur today is, to save your resources, to save your cash flow for that particular moment. So bistare tela plan where they go. So until that happens, then you work on your product, you work on your team, you work on the R&D and whatnot, right? You do the back end stuff. That's one way to look at it, and it's most of the companies are doing this at the moment. Second one, which is my approach, about depends on the industry you're in, Pani, is crisis presents a really big opportunity, right? So never let a crisis go to waste, Pani. It's one of my favorite quote. Winston Churchill quote, and I follow by that quote. Crisis could time as an entrepreneur if you're not being aggressive while the entire world is, in their den, and then you have the entire world all by yourself. If at this moment you're not aggressive, then you're going to miss out, right? So I'll give you some small petty examples. We'll just say, even when it comes to say advertisement, right? So Facebook, most of you guys advertise after the business. So you can imagine, अहिले Facebook no one is advertising, right? In normal days, there used to be tens and thousands of people and competing or bidding in that एउटा wallको spaceमा. तर आजको दिनमा कोही पनि advertise गरिरहेको छैन. So if you advertise today, you're obviously going to get a really good ROI, right? Secondमा, even in the customer side, नेपालमा लाखौँ बिजनेसहरू थियो, सानो पसलदेखि ठुलो पसलदेखि सबैजना used to compete for the customer's wallet. भने आजको दिनमा, there are a handful of companies out there, mostly e-commerce companies or FMCG companies. बाकी सबै त चुप लागेर बसिरहेको छन्, right? So यस्तो टाइममा if you can figure out a way to be aggressive, then you'll definitely get noticed, right? So if you have a startup, if you have a new idea, don't think, okay, I'm going to wait till COVID and then launch, and now is not the right time. That's a good approach, like I said, but other way about it, if you can think, now is the good time. Now is when everyone is slipping, everyone is on TikTok and Clubhouse, and spending the time. If I can work hard today, I think I don't have any competition there. So your data approach. So when you come back to your question in regards to investor and all, so the same approach, is aligned with the investment strategy. Pani investors are you need to get noticed, right? You need to get noticed about you. The normal days, you can imagine you're a VC or any investor, they're bombarded with proposals and requests and meetings and whatnot, right? आजको दिनमा हुन्छ नि, even they are in clubhouse हुन्छ नि, like के गरौँ भनेर दिनभरि बसिरहेको हुन्छ. So यस्तो बेला, this the right time हुन्छ नि, to reach out to them, to ping them, to share your ideas. You got us. This is the right time to be aggressive in the market so that they're noticing you. So that should be the strategy, I think. But depends, your business.
Thank you so much for this insightful answer, sir. And the second question we have is, when most of the teams are working from home, like even Sasto Deal has no choice but to operate from the grounds, how do you motivate the team in a situation like this to work?
Yeah, so I think that's a very important question again, because it's like almost like, I wouldn't put it that way, but it's almost like when a general commands his army to go to the front line, and the army knows ki, okay, the chances of dying is very high, but yet you have to be, there and fighting for your country. So if I look at that, so you're a mornalai they're there, but when they're in the war, they're so pumped up and motivated and inspired, and they're so happy, to be doing this for their country, right? That's a different context to what we're doing. Obviously, I'm not trying to compare that versus this, but it's the same analogy when you're saying, it's the COVID time when your friends and family are dying left and right, and then you're being told by your company, ki, you have to be in the front line, you have to go and deliver, deliver गर्ने बेला अब I cannot tell as a CEO कि तिमीले ल यो corona patient छ कि छैन, or is it safe or not. There's no way for me to tell, right? So so how do we motivate the staff to do it? अब हामीले गरेन भने कसले गर्छ, right? It's the time, if the online companies also don't do it, then the entire country nation is shut, right? So this the bela I think Yoda Kura, I think as a leader, if you're if you're not delegating and if you're leading by example, I think that's the number one approach. So I'll give you an example. So first wave of COVID ma, second one, I mean first wave ma the everyone was scared, right? I mean, के यो COVID भन्ने like देख्दा पनि देख्दैन virus भन्छ, मान्छे मर्छ भन्छ. And so when that happened, and then the news media, they escalated stories so much, there's fear among everyone, right? First ma. So they here up second day me, the government of Nepal they asked me for a meeting. So Singadarama, so Sekhar Golsa, Bhatbatini, us, and everyone was there. And the entire 1 hour discussion was pointed towards me, in particular, me and my other companion from Daraz. And we would actually, what is your capacity? How much can you deliver? Can you operate or not? How can other businesses support you? And ministerly, almost 1 hour meeting, the entire majority of the meeting was directed upon us, standing there in front of like the Golsas and the Barbadinis and everyone. And then I said, we're gonna do it. So that was the opportunity. I mean, I could not say like, sir, I'm Pani or Sasto. So I said, we're gonna do it. But the reality I knew back at the office was no one was willing to do it. So second day, I went there, called my management, and I said, I mean, we have to do it. We don't have a choice. And then I also was, I mean, I was scared, I mean, cute has, but I said, okay, let's do this. Ma afe delivery garchu, afe sabai garchu. You guys manage the finance, you guys do the operation. So मैले सबैजना management gave us task. We started doing everything, from the pickup to delivery and everything. We started doing it. We posted those pictures on teams ko wallहरूमा. And then I don't know. I mean, employees they saw that and as an example, okay, they were guilty by the fact that their CEOs were running around while they were hiding at home. Okay, but I don't know. I mean, but I didn't tell anyone. You have to come or you'll be fired or just the company. Obviously, I could not do that. But leading by example, I had my own strategies, and then next day, about a lot of people started coming in, and so when they came in, then other people started coming in. So that's how we operated first wave ma. And on top, I mean, you have to give incentives. So zone groundwork, when operation team through, like we started paying twice the salary from regular pay. So they were also very motivated, I mean, to work. Safety को सबै protocols हामीले अपनायो हुन्छ नि in terms of contactless delivery देखि लिएर PPE देखि लिएर whatever was required that was there. हाम्रो यो COVID essentials employee fund भन्ने setup गर्यो. So for most of the families हाम्रो employees although we were one company जसले चाहिँ नि यो पे कटहरू के पनि गरेन, but we realized कि जसको उनीहरूको घरमा जो अब उसको अब बुवा आमा हुनुहुन्छ या दिदी भाइ हुनुहुन्छ उनीहरूको स्यालेरीबाट पनि घर चलिरहेको थियो भने all of a sudden I mean those people who were once working for tourism industry or banquet or whatnot they were हुन्छ नि immediately laid off, right? So आफ्नो बुवाको सपोज 30,000 इन्कमले अब घर पालिरहेको थियो भने that was no longer there. So we realized those हाम्रो हुन्छ नि इम्प्लोइहरूको we started taking all the feedback and then employee essentials fund setup गरेर जो इम्प्लोइलाई एकदमै गाह्रो भएको छ त्यसलाई during the first wave of COVID 4-5 महिनासम्म they could I mean use those funds to buy essentials from us, so basically उनीहरूको जुन घरमा चाहिने monthly ration and everything हामीले supply गरेको थियो. I mean for them and not just even your couple association we supported and everything. So those are the things we did, I mean to support the employees, but like answering question, the motivation come down. So in situations like these, you cannot be expecting, as a CEO, you're gonna stay at home and you're gonna expect people to be in the ground and then you're gonna have a protocol ki work would be fired. That won't happen. So you have to lead by example. And today, I mean, here I'm at home. They're working, they're not complaining, it's all systemized. Most of the days I'm also at the warehouse. My CEO is mostly at the warehouse. So after leadership, you have to be with them in the ground. Okay, you cannot expect to be delegated. And I would say not just crisis, I mean, there should be a leadership style. So, हाम्रो Sasto dealमा चाहिँ नि your servant leadership भन्ने is the principle that we practice. That is something I preach all the time. Servant leadership भनेको, when you are I mean as a leader हुन्छ नि you're just a servant to your हुन्छ नि colleagues, nothing more. You're not a CEO and you're not हुन्छ नि sitting at a very big office with a lot of pride and creating a lot of bottlenecks and a lot of hierarchy in between your staff and you. No, I mean, if you're going to do that, if you're doing that, I think you're only going to harm yourself and your company, right? Servant leadership, you're there, out there. whatever is required for the company. If the job requires you to sweep the floor, then sweep the floor, right? If the job requires you to plant the flowers, then plant the flowers. Whatever it is, human, you have to do it. You're the servant to your company. So I think if you have those kind of principles, I think as to crisis much any, the entire team will be with you, and it's going to work out fine.
You really sound like an amazing boss. So, the third question we have is, what advice would you like to give those who are thinking of starting a business in a post COVID world?
Okay. I mean, depends on people to people. So Yodatini, this principle that I follow is called Ikigai. I don't know, I mean, how many of you are familiar with the concept. So it's a Japanese term. So Ikigai baniko cha ni. So so normally people say, follow your passion, follow your passion. Two statement is kind of vague, right? And we have seen a lot of people who follow the passion and has become disaster, right? So Ikigai Sani is something that has worked for me and might work for you. So Tisma Sani Kyun. So I think there are like four different core areas, Aru. And the Bitsa Chani is something that you need to look into. So you're a four Ramachani. Let me recall. I may not end up in like recalling exactly all the fours, but something like our Yoda Machani, it's your passion, right? Obviously, like something that you're very passionate about, something that you want to, I mean, wake up in the morning and be excited for. Tutu is very important. But equally important is your strength and your skills, right? So, for example, about one of the cliched example, sports me. A lot of us are very passionate about when it comes to sports, and so we have these big dreams. I'll be a cricketer and whatnot. But skill set is China money, and then if you're following that passion, you'll end up, playing for Division D, and then your entire life is gone for toss, right? And I don't mean to discriminate anyone in Division D if any one of you are playing. I'm just saying, I mean, you're not gonna, I mean, be playing with Messi's and Ronaldo's of this world. I mean, or even the National League, minor, if you don't have the skill set. So passion and skill set combination is very important. Third, what is also equally important is, does the world need that? So teams and passion, so team skill sets, but if it's something that the world does not require, uh, then it's going to be another wastage, right? I mean, it's going to be a hobby for you. You're going to end up, doing it for yourself, right? So, well, like science example, for example, if I go back to Sasto deal, so when I started, the number one question that I asked myself was, is this problem? So I mean, I don't know. I mean, a lot of you guys have heard this story, right? So I'm happy. When I realized it's such a daunting process. You 7 घंटा 8 घंटा market में गएर एउटा जाबु जुत्ता किन्नलाई. So that night when I came back, I immediately asked, I mean, is this just me or the entire nation, I mean, going through the exact problem, right? So when the answer was very evident, it's not me, it's like entire nation, like not just Kathmandu, Gaon, Samapani, this is the problem, Bhaneपछि. Then I said, okay, I'm going to pursue this challenge. So the third question is, does the world require this? So passion, sir, the strength, sir, and then world like science भनेपछि, and then there's a fourth one I forgot. So you combination by one in the middle ground, the idea that you find and you have your tintikura or the fourth one, whatever it is, you meet by bunny, that's your ikigai. That is something that I mean, even then you can pursue for another 20-25 years in the downs and highs and lows. Mapani, it'll get you going because you're so passionate about and so this it's your skill set, bunny. So you're not dependent on anyone else, and so even your co-founders leaves you, it's your skill set, you can still do it, and the demand the world always requires it, right? So post-COVID world this becomes very important for you to analyze because what has happened before COVID and the businesses that were doing good, or I mean the direction the world was heading pre-COVID, all of a sudden it has taken a 360 turn, and now here we are in a completely different world. So to analyze the situation again, if you have you've already identified the ikigai, you have to go back and think again. Okay, now what's going to happen? So post COVID, Pachi, definitely I mean there are things that are going to change forever. There are things that will definitely go back to normal as it was. I mean, there are habits that's gonna be new, in the new world, I'd say. So just for example, when it comes to e-commerce, so what I'll say is, I mean, it has changed so much. Your IBM को retail report निक्लेको छ अर्को. So what is quoted is IBM ले चाहिँ नि यो pandemic ले गर्दा चाहिँ नि e-commerce industry लाई चाहिँ नि 5 years ले accelerate गरेको छ हैन, which means I mean the numbers I was looking at 2026 ma, so 5 years down the line at an industry that was growing 300-400% a year भनेको त like far off numbers हो, त्यो numbers र त्यो plans र त्यो vision चाहिँ नि it can be done today भन्न खोजेको हो हैन, अनि which is very true. In fact हाम्रो सस्टेलमा अहिले जुन हाम्रो प्लानिङहरू भइरहेछ, some of the plans was planned for or allocated for 2024 and beyond. त्यस्तो प्लान्सहरू मेरो टेबलमा आज आइरहेछ to be discussing हुन्छ नि, to be thinking shall we execute or not हैन. So again, when it comes to your business, so post COVID world now, what you should be doing is you should analyze the trends. So what is going to stay, what is going to go back to what where things were back in the pre-COVID world, and what are the new habits that are being formed अब हैन. जस्तै अब अर्को example is अब cliched example again about digital payment हैन. So people are now हुन्छ नि अब हामी most of us are not willing to exchange notes or cash हैन. So every time I go to हुन्छ नि even big mart अब even card पनि म use गर्न छोडिसकेँ हैन, because there's phone pay and whatnot, so contactless हुन्छ, so why even give the card हैन to exchange गर्न. क्यास त हुन्छ नि कति टाइम्स मैले कोही मान्छेले मलाई पैसा दिएन भने मैले वालेटको त क्यासै हुँदैन हैन. अब it's because like म क्यास बोक्नै छोडेको कति भइसक्यो हैन. So for me, those are the new habits when COVID is on a fuel. But I don't think I'll go back to accepting and taking notes unless it's very required. I'll feel very uncomfortable, right? I think that's a new habit that's gonna be consistent with a lot of folks in the Kathmandu and urban cities. Whereas, I mean, if you look at from the seller's side, I think your digital one, we instead of coming to, so last time I was at British College, Hallma, a few years back, I think. As a here we are, like online ma, and the same has happened for everyone, right? So a lot of things will not go back to normal. A lot of things are here to stay now, using my cultures and habits and everything. So when you're thinking about launching a business, do take into Ikigai as a number one and setting a principle, and I'm here to say, I mean, it has worked for me, not necessarily it will work for you, but the Ikigai is something that you can definitely explore. And then you have to look at the trends, what's going to happen post COVID, and then you can pinpoint what exactly you want to do.
So these were all the questions about the business post-COVID. Now let's get a little personal. So can you describe what your day-to-day schedule is like?
Yeah. So day to day, I think my mornings are precious. So I mean, as a leader, what I've realized with other leaders is, I mean, if they're starting the day with work, that's not a sustainable approach, and it's not going to help their company. Leaders, it's not just about I mean, working 8 hours a day, working and making distance and all that. Leaders, just like athletes, you have to prepare, right? And then athletes is it's one I mean focus. I mean, whenever I have to work on something, I try to look at a world of best athlete. Obviously I cannot follow everything that they're doing, but still I mean, that's an inspiration for me, right? So rather than following an entrepreneur, I usually follow an athlete. So entrepreneur bhaneke athlete ho, you have to practice in the nets, right? You have to practice in the dark. So every morning for me, like when I wake up at 5:30, then first thing that I do is read for almost 2 hours. So read much, and this is something that after so many experimentation, I've landed here, and this has been working for a few years. So a lot of times, you go jog, you go running, and all of that. त्यसले गर्दा उठ्नै मन लाग्दैन, कुद्न जानुपर्छ फेरि भन्ने, so you don't want to I mean, wake up, you're not so excited. But then I started realizing what excites me, like what excites me to get out of the bed early in the morning, or even like not even go to the bed, right? So reading is my passion. I mean, reading is something that I love doing. So then I said, okay, first thing in the morning, I'm going to read, okay, for 2 hours. So then every day, and if I'm waking up late, I kind of, I'm in that guilty zone, and I regret I woke up even half an hour late, because I don't know, I have, like just 1.5 hours to read, right? So Sakya maximum, I try to squeeze in 2 hours every morning to read. And then reading Mandali about not just books. I don't read books in the morning. I've subscribed to a lot of your journals, Aru. So as we are Harvard Business Review, I've subscribed Business Insider, and there's so many other e-commerce specific websites which I've subscribed. So I mean, you have to invest money. Okay, so one thing I want you guys to take away is whatever information you're getting for free, has right. I mean, if you're reading Kathmandu Post for free, then like there's another 1 million people who've read it and who has the same knowledge base as you have. But obviously, like 1 million they read Pinagada, so that's an added advantage already in a country like Nepal. But why pay for all this above, right? So Harvard, I'm paying I think $25 a month, so it's almost equal to my internet bills, right? So 3,000 rupees a month, but it's worth it, right? So Harvard मैले जुन तिर्छु, and then the case studies that I have access to, the articles that I have access to, otherwise I need three articles per month, so like it's useless. So it gives me a lot of knowledge base. And similarly, जुन more subscribe to, and Harvard is expensive. Other most others are $3, $2 a month, $2 a month when I queue, and any of you can afford that. But once you subscribe, you have that immense knowledge base so that you can refer to. So I read because then I mean, when the day starts, I have to go back to the team and I have to be prepared, right? So every day when you're reading, and it's not going to be overnight, when you've been reading for years and years and years, then you have that knowledge base. And then and whenever you're talking to the team or media or audience like yourself or even the government, you have a lot of confidence, you have a lot of facts, you have a lot of understanding, 360 perspective on what's happening in APAC, what's happening in US, what's happening in other countries. And then you can, to me, I mean, be the leader in your country, because most of the things that's happening there has not even started yet, right? So that's how a visionary leader actually like sets the base. It's not that they're visionary by birth. I mean, they're visionary because they have means to become visionary like this, right? So after reading, I mean, I squeeze in 30 minutes of workout, karma, or I live in Budangkanta, so it's a really nice area to go workout. This my workout is nothing new, I think, for a lot of you folks, but one thing that I practice is called priming. So priming money, because I know Tony Robbins is a person that I truly follow and admire. So priming money, for a lot of you guys and for me in particular, I tried meditation and all to focus on something, right? I don't know meditation, like, how it has been helping others, but I hear, I mean, it has great value, but for me, it did not work, right? So meditation numbers. So then I looked into priming. So priming is a form of meditation, but it's very short and precise. What it makes you do is it makes you think of, I mean, three things that you're very thankful for. So very small things, right? So early COVID, even if your family is doing good and you're alive and you're breathing, that's fantastic. When you think about it, you're very thankful for, about God, okay, external power, okay, yourself, okay, your family, for about that you're alive. And then you think about such three things that you're thankful for. एकदमै सानसानो कुराहरू that I mean, most of the people are going through a so tremendous struggle, oxygen छैन and all that. So even like these days, most of the days, I'm thankful for the air that we breathe, right? कहिले पनि सोचेको थिएन like oxygen चाहिँ नि यस्तो shortage हुन्छ and oxygen यस्तो हुन्छ. So every morning, if you're just thankful, for the fresh air that we have and the lungs and the capacity that we have to breathe, So then during the end of priming, and it's just 5 minutes or 3 minutes, end of priming, you think of something that excites you the most, right? So what are you looking forward to? What are you really excited for in life, right? So when you think of that, and then you're set for the day, So because हाम्रो humanity, I mean, हाम्रो भनौँ न psychology कसरी work हुन्छ भने negativityबाट मात्रै work हुन्छ कि and it's been there since the birth of civilization. But we're surrounded by negativity in media, in friends and relatives and family and whatever we're reading and everything. So priming is one thing that sets you in a positive manner. Okay, you're like done. So you're thankful and you're excited and you're done. That's very important. Other than workout, that's very very important for me. Do try it out. And this which is an 8:30 I start my meetings. Usually we are a very data driven company, so my first meeting is with the business intelligence team. That's my priority as a company. So when I sit with them, this any I have all the facts, I have all the rationals, and then the meeting starts. I mean, up until अब अहिले त 8 बजे 9 बजे पनि भइरहेछ है. Usually अफिसमा भयो भने चाहिँ नि 6-7 सम्म हुन्छ. And then travel I try to listen to a lot of podcasts. So when do I read a book? Usually it's 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock in my lunch time, sir. This might read a book, but I think to time pani A lot of meetings are being overlapped, but at least that time is for reading. So typical days and this other than like meetings and otherwise.
So this is not in the script, but may I ask for some book suggestions, especially about entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think why not? I mean, let me think. I mean, so there are books. Much I try to refrain from your self-help books. सकेसम्म self-help books म पढ्न खोज्दिनँ unless अब एकदमै एकदमै important र राम्रो छ भने. Usually I try to read a lot of biographies because I mean when you're reading biographies, because entrepreneur bhana चाहिँ नि के हो भने you're someone that is leading the team behind you. You have a troop behind you, but you know कि you're entering this dark, I mean, passage that भोलि गएर त्यहाँ you can have fires from everyone. You can end up हुन्छ नि like hitting a wall, or you can end up हुन्छ नि like in a beautiful garden होइन. So you don't know where you're going कि खासै भन्यो भने होइन. And so many times in lives ki you as an entrepreneur you have to decide, and you don't have the facts around you, so then this what has helped for me is your biographies, and I read a lot of biographies, Rimachani, I mean, you have these wonderful stories, and unaharko life. I mean, they've already been through what you're going through, right? And maybe in a different industry or a different, I mean, context. But still, I mean, if you're reading about Winston Churchill, or if you're reading about Tony Robbins, or if you're reading about Elon Musk, or if you're reading about, I read, I forgot the name of the guy, but I read about this guy, Jalitani India ma, you telephone booth लगेको थियो कि so त्यो yellow booth which is very popular in India. So he was the guy who had that idea कि यो booth चाहिँ लानुपर्छ भनेर, and then he scaled it. So I was reading about him, I mean, fantastic, I mean, something India जस्तो countryमा like एउटा नयाँ revolution कसरी लिएर आयो. And then there's so many examples about such books. So biographies ma, I mean, I usually try to see who the author is. So अब I mean एउटा दुइटा authors चाहिँ नि उनीहरूको चाहिँ एकदमै राम्रो हुन्छ बुक्सहरू. But what I'll do is I have a long list of books that I've read and I recommend, so I can circulate it with you guys so that you guys can have a look. So biographies, other than that, I read typical your strategy books. So depends on where I am in a particular situation. So sometimes I mean I want to understand a lot about finance. So then I read a lot of books in finance, and not hardcore textbooks, but अलिकति रमाइलो. So जस्तै यो अनिलको भन्ने इन्डियाको अथरको यो रोमान्सिङ विथ द ब्यालेन्स सिट भन्ने एउटा बुक छ होइन. सो इट्स अल अबाउट I mean as an entrepreneur, like I don't really like finances. It's for someone like me, like who needs to understand how a balance sheet operates and all. But it's told in such a narrative. Okay, it's fun funny to read, and a lot of with a lot of examples and all of that. So sometimes I'm into strategy mode. So these days I'm into strategy mode because of COVID again. So strategy mode ma जस्तै अब भनौँ न playing to win भन्ने एउटा बुक छ एजे Lashley हो कि को भने. So he चाहिँ नि used to be Unilever, okay, and Procter and Gamble, I think. Yeah, Procter and Gamble को longest serving CEO who transformed the company. So उसले चाहिँ playing to win भन्ने book छ. It's a strategy book. So what it basically says हुन्छ नि as the name suggests is you're not just entering a startup as a means to be published and be known and be popular. You're there to win, right? I mean, you're there to win regardless if there is a global giant competing with you or there's no one, right? You're there to win. So playing to win much, and it's like the rule book, I mean, how do you win, right, in a market? So this, I mean, biographies, my Walt Disney ko biographies is very interesting. It sparks your imagination because you're someone who built Disney right from scratch, where people thought he was crazy, and then here we are. I mean, we are customers of Disney today. Similarly, उसको एउटा CEO छ अहिले भर्खर resign गरेको. I mean, उसको term सिधैको. Forgot his name again, but so उसले चाहिँ 25 years देखि he led Disney as a CEO. So Walt Disney को चाहिँ it's more imaginative and visionary छ भने this particular CEO को book छ. I think Riding Through Disney हो कि something like that's a title होइन. उसको चाहिँ it's more hardcore एउटा CEO को पर्सपेक्टिभबाट how does he make decisions कसरी सेटअप गरिरहेको छ functionsहरूदेखि it's more technical as a CEO, right? um, and their books very specific to e-commerce. So अहिले I'm reading Amazon को shareholder को letters So the 1997 देखि अहिलेसम्म रिसेन्टसम्म जुन जेफ बेजोसले every year he writes letters to his shareholdersहरू. So त्यो shareholdersको lettersहरू चाहिँ it's compiled in a book with more rationingहरू, and that's been very helpful for me. So a lot of books, so I think, you just read what you pick, but I try to refrain from self-help books and your romance and fictitious and all these books. I don't really read, but I've heard from other entrepreneurs कि त्यस्तो books पनि has helped, especially fictitious booksहरू चाहिँ नि, I mean, it sparks the imagination or हुन्छ नि यो different scenariosहरू हुन्छ how it plays out. So yeah, so I can send you a list of, like a curated list, I'd say, not the entire list.
I really hope we are not going too fast. We just have a few questions now. So, on to the most cliche question ever. What is your mission in life?
So hope this is not a cliched answer, but what I really feel is, I mean, Nepalma, we need a lot of examples, right? I mean, हामी नेपालमा अहिले हेऱ्यो भने we are a country that has lost hope, होइन? And hope नै छैन भने that's it. हुन्छ नि, there's nothing other than hope, okay? Nothing bigger or nothing more important than hope, right? अनि for anyone, चाहे त्यो individual होस् या nation होस्, I mean, if there is an end to hope, then that's it. हुन्छ नि, त्यो पछि there's no motive in life, right? So Nepal चाहिँ नि similar situation मा छ as a country, हुन्छ नि, as youths, yourselves, and everyone. I mean, not just youths, हुन्छ नि, everyone in every generation, they kind of feel कि today about we've lost hope. There's nothing, and Nepal can do now. भन्ने छ, and that's why as a result we see so many people flocking, outside of Nepal. At the slightest opportunity, they would leave, right? Even for most of you guys, and there's nothing wrong to this, right? I mean, there's nothing in Nepal. I mean, no education, no, I mean, business opportunities, no nothing. The government is haywire. I mean, so then के गर्न सकिन्छ त, like as an entrepreneur, what should be my mission in life, what should be भन्दा पनि, I mean, by default, what is the mission in life is to ignite that hope. I think that's the number one thing I have to do, and other entrepreneurs have to do, because when I came back, and then त्यतिखेर for me as well, a lot of people thought I was crazy, right? I mean, एउटा त e-commerce start गरेर in an industry where there's none. Second, you've come back from States. Yopani was a crazy and distant for a lot of folks, but I didn't find it anything amusing about it. Coming back to home wasn't by default a choice of mine. But do I, and then so त्यतिखेर skepticism and everything, and let's see what he's going to do भन्ने थियो भने अहिले आएर चाहिँ नि a lot of those skepticism has turned to positive, a lot of those folks were, at one time pointing their fingers and laughing about it all. So as it's any, they've realized, oh man, I mean, he was right. There is a big industry in Nepal. You got to Nepal ma you can aspire to be, I mean, working in almost $1 billion industry, competing with a global giant, and when working, I mean, creating an industry from scratch. There's hope, and a lot of people have returned back home. I wouldn't say directly because of my personal impact, but indirectly, I know they've spoken with me, they've referred to my examples elsewhere, and so while talking to the media or their friends, and they've come back. And कस्तो मान्छेहरू आइरहेछ भने हार्वर्डमा, I mean, as a club president भएको, so it's not just a Nepali Harvard club president, it's a Harvard club president भएको, Microsoft को consultantहरू, IBM को consultantहरू, MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Princeton को graduatesहरू. Now these are the folks now that they have started to come back. I've noticed, हुन्छ नि, यति धेरै मान्छेहरू फिर्ता आइसक्यो अहिले, हुन्छ नि, like especially in the recent 2 years. And about चाहिँ like what that means is, I'm not saying कि अरू चाहिँ does not matter, but if they are quitting, हुन्छ नि, उनीहरूको comfortable salaries and IBM को top positionsहरूमा बसेको मान्छेहरू चाहिँ नि सबै comfort छोडेर उनीहरूको म्यान्सन, स्विमिङ पुल भएको म्यान्सन र हुन्छ नि एउटा BMW चढेर हिँडिरहेको मान्छेहरू फिर्ता आइरहेछ इन नेपाल, where BMW नै किन्नु पर्यो भने नि बाटो पनि छैन, खल्टाङ खुल्टुङमा चलाउनु पर्छ भने थाहा हुँदा हुँदै पनि they've come back with their family भनेको चाहिँ नि they've seen some hope, they've seen some examples, they now want to, I mean, become those examples by themselves. So my mission in life is to keep, igniting that hope. Someday I was just say when we partnered with Walmart, Flipkart, then that ignited another hope, right? I could see a lot of people, being so amused. Ki एउटा सानो local company नेपालमा Walmart कसरी partner गर्न सक्छ भन्ने, and I made it हुन्छ नि a reality, right? And that's where we are. And यस्तो partnerships त अब I've partnered with Nepal government होला कि I've had investors like IME groupहरू, which are offline the biggest investors हो कि डोमा हो कि so whatever I'm doing, obviously, like I'm doing for my company and myself and the industry. But the mission in life has always been, by whatever I'm doing, can I ignite that hope that Nepal desperately needs, especially the youth community. Ki, I know Nepal छोडेर जानु अगाडि, they're thinking, they're looking desperately looking for an example. के छ त नेपालमा, please give me something that I can go and back and tell my parents कि हेर्नुहोस् नेपालमा यो पनि छ, just give me 2 years, I'll try to do this. यो company हेर्नुहोस्, यो मान्छे हेर्नुहोस्. So कति नै छ example यहाँ, होइन? There's no example. So when I started, I had no example to even refer anyone, right? Any company. So आजको दिनमा जुन handful of companies छ, I'd say F1soft, eSewa, Khalti, Sasto Deal, or something like Foodmandu. There are a handful of companies now, and then there's so many others that I've left out, right? So at least there is some hope, right? But this is just the beginning, I'd say, for me and Sasto Deal. I think next 5 years, I mean, whatever we're planning, if we execute those plans and if we have those results, I think I mean, Nepalma, there's going to be new hope and new dreams, especially on the entrepreneurship side, because I mean, government or politics, there's very little that I can personally do. So at least from this field that where I am engaged with, this part I can start, and hopefully and I can also see this coming. I think if the politics ma pani or government ma pani, there will be leaders that are gonna ignite new hope there.
Okay, to sum up this session, any last minute advice to all the students listening to you today?
So advice, so advice is only worth it if you're gonna execute it, right? I mean, so advice ma, I mean, whatever I've said, everything you can take it in a form of advice, from learning to I mean, leading by example to I mean everything, right? Reading and all. But if I have to give a specific advice, Nepal, I mean, as young, I mean, entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs or young leaders yourselves, what is very important for you to do is to think big, right? I mean, to think big. In Nepal, we've always been in a landlocked country. And to landlocked country, it's any like not just geography, but a landlocked. Our mindset, it's landlocked, right? So, I'm saying, we always start from negative comments. Nepal market politics, this is happening, that is happening. We always start with that, right? And we never even try to even address incident, like in so many meetings and so many forums. I've never seen people in Nepal who have kind of thought big key, why can't we do this one? Kana sakne na sakne, that's secondary, right? तर एउटा आर्ट गर्ने र एउटा भिजन देख्ने र एउटा स्कोप देख्ने त्यो नै छैन नेपालमा. I mean, so my advice नभनौँ, my request to everyone here would be, at least whatever you're doing, let's think big, होइन? तर big in a sense कि अब हुन्छ नि, like it's not be foolish कि सबै त्यसमा डुबाउने भनेको होइन, तर थटमा बिग हुनुपर्छ, एक्जिक्युसनमा रियलिस्टिक हुनुपर्छ, राइट? सो when हुन्छ नि, like, so again referring to my example with Walmart and Flipkart, it's such a big company, right? When you talk about Walmart, it's a big company, annual हुन्छ नि more than $600 billion को sales छ, which means हुन्छ नि हाम्रो नेपालको GDP को I don't know what, that's like 20-30 times over छ, होइन? So Nepal country जस्तो 30वटा countryको उसको annual GMV छ भने त्यस्तो companyसँग how can I, as a local company, as a small company, have that I mean dream to partner? So how did I reach out to them? I mean, wasn't I ashamed just to even write an email to them? No, I gave it, when I had that thought, I'm competing with a global giant that's based out of China. What are my options for that? I should partner with someone that is based out of India, right? So that is how, I mean, everything got aligned. The hope was there. I mean, the thought was there. And then once I had that vision in mind, once I had that dream in mind, and the credit also goes to my investors, Dolma Impact Fund, who helped me like connect to the right people and partners. And then one thing led to another, and whenever I pitched, so I'll give you a backdrop, right, Isma? So my first meeting at Flipkart. So other than emails and virtual calls, so we were invited to Flipkart, Unarko, Bangalore office headquarters. I was expecting to meet manager level people because I mean for them who's just the deal, right? But I was surprised कि when the meeting happened, because 7 leaders were all 7 of them were reporting directly to the CEO, to the group CEO. So all 7 of them were senior VPs, all senior vice presidents handling different functions. And they gave us an entire day, entire day. So I walked into the big conference, I sat there, we had the agenda in place, and I looked at the agenda, I looked at the names, I was like shocked. These were the people that I was reading about that like the Indian media would always cover. These were the e-commerce like the veterans in the industry, and to be sitting with them and they giving the entire day to like the four of us from Sasto and taking us through like everything. This is how it works, this is what is going to happen. And at the end of the day they said, I mean, I asked like humbly, and then I have a very humble approach because I mean there's no arrogance while talking to Flipkart or anyone. So when I asked them, I mean, why you're doing this one, Harry? So they said they see Sustadil as Flipkart. I mean, so when Flipkart was in a nation stage, was growing up, and they were now competing with Amazon as a global giant, they saw Sustadil in a similar trajectory as a small startup trying to grow and competing with a global giant, right? So they saw that, and then that's when they said we want to help. So whatever you need, let's do it. And it came from them, so rather than me. I was there with a different objective. It came from them. Okay, let's formulate a strategic partnership. The push came from them, and it was not coming from a manager level. It was coming from the very top. So, and one thing led to another. Like I mean, it was not overnight. So, ek bar sako, there's been a lot of hard work related to my team as well. I mean, who worked through all the numbers and all the negotiations and all the terms and everything. And here we are. I mean, partners with Flipkart and Myntra. So coming back to the advice, I mean, if you're gonna think big, Ola, no, Ola, it's a different story. You obviously have to work up your Anthony about strategy, and it's not gonna just happen just because you have that big dream. You need an execution strategy. Pani. Tara, first, matter, let's start thinking big. Okay? Let's not just limit, our mind as a landlocked country ourselves. So that would be my request rather than advice. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Amun Thapa, for this wonderful session. And also thank you to all the participants who are here till the end. We are incredibly grateful to you, sir, for providing us such an enlightening session regarding business post-COVID. An entrepreneur is a doer, so I hope that all the participants will employ the knowledge that they have gained today to make a difference in the society. If you ever intend to revisit this learning, make sure to visit the Facebook page and YouTube channel of the British College for the live recording of the session. Feel free to share it with your friends and family. Once again, thank you to all the participants and everyone who has been here with us today. And Mr. Amun Thapa, on the behalf of the British College, I would like to tell you that we really appreciate you taking your time to attend this session. We look forward to many more sessions like this in the upcoming days. Until then, I, your host Samyam Samba, would like to sign off now. Take care and stay safe, everybody. Thank you.